2 million plus people in jail, and there's a disproportionate amount of black males. Now, I'm gonna narrow this down to the black male thing demographic for a second. In all those cities that were played by the KRS-Ones, the Tribe Called Quest, the Eric B. and Rakims, the Run DMCs, from the Columbus, Ohio's to the Wichita, Kansas, to the Sacramento, Californias, to the Floridas. There are black men who are 25 to 50 who are part of the hip hop nation.
Right.
BT or TV One, all these stations are out there. Who talks to these people? Let's break it down to men. Right. Who talks to those men? Because, you know, Oprah might talk to women, and there's a demographic of black women that might listen to, you know, they check out Essence or listen to a segment of the radio, you know, because, you know, there's this type of entertainment comes through. Patti LaBelle still has a voice that's out there, and people like
they'll listen to the Michael Bates and
to that cat that sits down, you know, and the cat might sit and listen to Michael Bates.
Right, because it's the closest he could get.
Closest that they can get to, you know, because, you know, a white cat who is like, let's say, 55 years old, somebody in the age range of Steve Jobs.
Right.
Is going to look across and say, you know, all right, you know, Steven Tyler. Yeah, I can relate. I can relate, for sure. And you know, whatever he says.
Bono, it's always
the respect thing. What does the 37-year-old black dude, you know, he's been working, he might have got laid off from the car plant, you know, he's trying to come up, he, you know, a couple of his kids like in the 1920 zone or whatever.
Right.
Who talks to him? And at the same time, you know, there's a 23 or 24-year-old cat coming up now who's got a different mentality.
Who wants to listen to what this guy had to,
Who talks to these people?
It's not like we don't exist. We exist, and we probably are the majority too. But there's no outlets for us to be heard. There's no outlets for dialogue. There's no outlets for the music unless we do it ourselves. There's a lot of us we've been doing this, but we're not being allowed to be heard. It's like I always said, you know, I could go say this to the new generation. I could go tell the Jeezys and the Lil Waynes, you know, do what you do, but you need to be doing this. And people say they don't need to do nothing. I mean, from a hip hop standpoint, they really need to be doing it, but they're not going to listen to me. You know what I'm saying? So there's no outlets for us. I want that. I'm coming home from work. I don't want to hear the radio, but where is that, the topics of, you know, what Run DMC, PE, even Will Smith, that generation, there's nothing for us. Who talks to us? There's a lot of people that want to be taught. There's a lot of people that want to talk about these issues, but there's no outlet for us. That's why we sitting here trying to do this.
What happens when the financial picture changes, when all of a sudden, you know, people used to sell like these umpteen amount of records, and all of a sudden it meant residuals. Now all of a sudden they say that the record business is totally flipped upside down. People are not selling records. You know, what does a artist who might have has a 10-year career, and all of a sudden they used to sell records, now they don't sell records? What does that artist do at this point? I mean, can management come in like the cavalry and save the day?
You can't fix it. You can't fix it. You can't, like a lot of those executives that lived during that era, they're over. They had their ride. A lot of those artists are just rappers with a lot of money. Like I had
money disappears if you don't. Oh, for sure.
No, they're trying to worry about it now. They're like, man, I made a mistake for buying those 3 houses. Made a mistake for having that yacht, because when it's sitting there, you got to pay for that. Now, I have lawyers and managers and even a couple of executives who just got in the game saying, yo, playtime is over. That whole era is over. But there's a difference. You know, a couple of journalists will say, a lot of the rappers in the last 10 years are just rich celebrities. Like, it started bugging me out when, wow, rap is getting looked at by the tabloids. And rap is being looked at like the gossip, you know, by the gossip industry and stuff like that. But there was a time where, you know, when you see Chuck, or you see, let's say that you see Big Daddy Kane, or you see Guru, or you see, you know, you see a Freddie Fox, people stop and go, wow, yo, man, you don't know what your music did to me. But now it's like, wow, he's dating such and such. Whoa, he got a lot of money. They don't even talk about life. You know, even the gangster rapper would make a record. You know, people talk about who's really street and who's really gangster, who has an essence. They forget about Scarface.
Right.
Why I'm playing tricks on you. I don't like none of the rap, the gangsters, and I'm pushing this, and I'm the big man, and I'm the boss, and all that. That don't get my attention. But when I hear Scarface say, I'm alone in a room staring at night I can't sleep, I toss and turn, that's gangster to me, because he's talking from the perspective of our lives. I don't need to hear how many drugs you sold, how many people you killed, because I could pick up USA Today and see that. I could pick up the Daily News and see 60 just shooting like that. But it was inspiring to hear the people from the community, those 3 elements, those 3 or 4 elements, meaning on every neighborhood, whether it's Beverly Hills or whether it's the ghetto, there's Chino, Dino, and Nino, who you know going to go to jail just like their father before them. But there's also Richard, who you know he's going to go to Harvard. There's also John, oh, he's going to be the next Dwayne Wade. There's that rapper guy, but then there's also the regular guy that's just going to drive the bus for 50 years, get his pension, and live a creative life. Those issues, those issues, ideas, and concepts is what separated hip-hop from everything else. But it was also brother and sister, just like I said. The Beatles were big pop successes, but when they got to the point where they knew they had power, look what John Lennon did.
Right.
Look at what Dylan did. You know what I'm saying? So who's speaking for these people? There's a lot of voices for these people, but now it's time for these voices to be heard. The Obama isn't new.
Right.
You know, I tell people, yo, we can celebrate Obama all we want, but he ain't no babysitter.
Right.
And the guys in the hood look at me like, Real, what do you mean by that? Just because he there doesn't mean these conditions is going to change. But rap music was able to change those conditions. You know, it wasn't just like, I tell the young kids, I wasn't just spitting a 16 and impress my 16-year-old friend.
Right.
We had legislators, lawmakers, journalists, writers, and politicians and psychologists going, do you hear what these young people in this neighborhood with nothing did? It wasn't just about how much money they was making. They would always look at us and say, do you see and hear what we are saying and doing? That's what's missing. The problem is this generation, you know, it's a waste of time for me to go try to tell 50 and Ja Rule makeup friends and stuff like that. For them to have changed, they're gonna. I needed my pair. Listen. I was DMC. Even I'm the king of rock.
Right.
Positive rap here and there. But I was running around drinking and smoking. But when I looked to the left, I had PE saying that. I looked to the right, I had KRS saying that. I looked to the back, I got Rakim over there. I got EPMD over there. We had the whole circumference of the existence we were living being discussed through our music. That's not happening right now. So maybe they got to think twice. Okay, we'll bring these guys here, but we ain't going to let them say anything. I did a party on the 18th for the inauguration. It was me, Ludacris, and Nelly was hosting it. Mm-hmm. I went in there, did like 7 records, a couple of new records, and left. And all those people who had never seen Run DMC live came to me and said, yo, that was the best performance I ever seen. And all I did was this tricky. I went out there, I said, yo, we're going to take a page from how the Zulu Nation used to do it before rap records was on records. You know, the P, they drunk or whatever, but they're looking like this. And I was like, remember when Bam said, Busy B said, what's the name in this nation? Ooh, now who's going to get out? I said, what's the name? I had to teach him. I said, what's the name of our president? Barack. Now tell me who's in the White House. Obama. Keep it going, y'all. What's the name of my president? And these people were like amazed. You know what I'm saying? Even though what we do is new,
they shouldn't have been amazed. And at the same time, but we'll be back with the king of rock from the Beatles of rap, Run DMC, when we return on the Real Off the Record. And check out this next segment, so you better stay tuned.